I think what's interesting is the reason or at least the part of the journey for me moving into D&I was because I got really interested in just generally the human connection element of this stuff. So as I was researching the evolution of our recognition strategy, funnily enough, I got my ears pricked up to the fact that, people who feel like their employer is a place for people like them, are much more likely to feel inspired by their work, committed to the organisation, and more likely to stay at the organisation. And in the same research I was reading as well that, more engaged employees are healthier employees. And actually, when people are more engaged at work, they are healthier generally in their lives. And we know that 30% of overall health is deemed by social factors, but then there's this huge grey area where obviously work and teams and manager and all of that stuff kind of really plays a role. And it's kind of an untapped sort of source of wisdom and knowledge, I think. So I got really interested in this, and it was kind of the reason why I started to really think about the crossovers between, reward, well-being, inclusion. And so as I now think about it in the role that I'm in today, one is, there are huge crossovers in the work that I do with the teams in the organisation that are thinking about well-being. We started to talk a lot about things like flexibility in all senses of the word. So if people have the flexibility that they need to live their life and balance their life with their work, they're going to feel healthier. And of course, that flexibility takes all sorts of different forms. It's a myriad of different forms because every person is individual and every life is individual. So to me, it's almost like the ultimate form of inclusion if everybody can live their life and build their work into it in the way that they need to. I think what's interesting is in some of the award submissions this year, while they weren't submitting, in the diversity and inclusion linked category, we saw quite a lot of examples of where people were introducing well-being initiatives that were really cognizant or conscious of diversity or inclusion issues. And I think particularly in the space of, there were a number of entries where they were thinking about, are particular segments of the workforce going to feel welcome in this wellbeing initiative? So people really thinking differently about how they bring things to work. I think there's still a lot more to do in that space. So I think, many organisations still think about physical wellbeing first. And actually when you say the words wellbeing, even employees kind of think about that first. Well, are we really thinking about physical wellbeing in the sense that everybody, regardless of their ability, can get involved in that kind of activity? Or are we then also excluding people unintentionally for those kind of reasons? I think equally in the mental health space, if people are, not in a good place in life generally, and, we're expecting them to come to work and deliver regardless, that again is a form of exclusion. We're not really thinking about that whole person and that person feeling included in the work environment. So I think there's so much crossover in the way that you kind of think about well-being and inclusion in particular, as well as diversity together.